Hey, welcome to the Sum of Our Parts. I'm Mike. Today's discussion for today is going to be double standards. I have my lovely co-hosts with me. Ladies, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
My name is Jordan.
My name is Kirsty.
My name is Ebony.
I'm Jen.
My name is Tashina, and my guest is my other half, Erica.
All right. So that we've gotten acquainted with everybody else, Kirsty, go ahead and lead us off on our daily routine.
All right, so to set our space right now, we're going to go in with our intention word to set the space and really bring intention into what we are portraying and who we're showing up as today. So Jordan, what intention are you bringing?
Um, Authenticity.
I'm bringing fullness.
I'm bringing like normal. I always say fun.
I'm bringing open mind, optimistic.
Okay.
My word is genuineness.
Oh, love it.
My word is happiness.
Oh,
Like that.
My word is uniqueness.
love it.
Like that too.
Right.
So now let's go in and take a deep breath, just clear our energy and ground ourselves in the present moment. 1, 2, 3. In and let it out. All right, we're ready to rock.
All right.
All right. So I guess we're going to jump into our topic about double standards. What double standards mean to me? I'm really good with examples. So double standards is, let me say, okay, the Me Too movement. That's kind of a double standard to me because we look at it as women being violated sexually, mentally, emotionally, not emotionally, but being violated because of their gender. However, men are sexually harassed, but however, you can't, well, excuse me, a man can't say he was sexually harassed by me. To me, that is double standards because the first thing they're going to look at and say, oh, she's a woman. What can she do to you? So to me, that's double standards. Um, do I think it's a part of being privileged? Yeah. Do we take advantage of it as women? Yeah. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Now with the Me Too movement, as we talk about, the Me Too movement ain't come out until a white person stated that they were violated. Black sisters and women from back when was violated all over from the beginning of time. So why is it, and please forgive me for saying that, but why is it such a big issue now because a white woman said it or a white woman was violated when my ancestors been violated for more than 400 years? And women are violated every day, but we don't discuss the individuals, the underprivileged ones that we see that's violated as well. So that's just me, my opinion.
That's a good point. There's a lot of different layers that goes into certain double standards, and that goes into identity as well. I had my own realization last week when I was at the gym. I accidentally went into the men's locker room and I ran in and I saw some things and I was just like, I was so humiliated, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And they were just kind of like, and I ran out. But I was like, when I got back to the woman's locker, I was like, I'm so glad I wasn't a man in that instance and they were women, because they probably would have called me a pervert. They probably would have called the cops. They probably would have got me banned from the gym just off an honest, innocent mistake. So in that moment, I did recognize that I am privileged as a woman, which we don't ever have these conversations about being privileged as women. But I think it's a silent privilege that we don't really connect with as much, you know. But I definitely see there are double standards into certain ways we can mess up, perhaps, on, you know, the gender side, like things like that. But also, just like men in general, we don't see them as vulnerable, so they couldn't possibly be violated. That's a clear double standard to me that I don't think is helpful for men. You know, it might be helpful for women because we're the ones who are vulnerable. We're the ones who will, you know, be threatened. You know, that, I mean, that helps us out. But for our men, for our counterparts, it doesn't do them any justice. So is it really helpful if it's not a balanced scale, or is it? It's really hard for me to kind of unpack that. So I don't really know if that double standard is good for me, but when I have a son, will it be good for him? You see what I'm saying? Like, my thinking just needs, I'm not sure. I don't have all the answers right now, but that's where I'm going with my thought. So.
In piggybacking off of what you and Ebony talked about in terms of men and the Me Too movement, I know when I worked with the Department of Juvenile Justice, I worked at an all-male facility, and they were all teenage boys. And I would say, honestly, about 50% of them had been sexually assaulted as children. But the mindset about it, like the way that they talked about it, was completely different because of that stigma, because of that double standard. You know, even if it wasn't something that they wanted, the way they talked about it, they tried to shift the perspective as if, oh, I'm cool now because this thing happened to me. But in reality, you know, they're hurting, they're acting out, they're having feelings attached to it. And so because of that double standard, they've had to change their perspective about their life experiences. And it's just, you know, interesting to consider.
I feel like I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
You go.
Well, I was just thinking kind of along the lines what you said, Jordan, and then it speaks to the intersection of identity, because then, you know, we do our males such a disservice by making it not okay, and then you got to externalize everything. And then if you're a Black male, well, then that looks dangerous, right? Or we label it a certain way. I've spent the last 15 years working in schools in alternative education programs that are 90% Black boys, teenage boys. You know, we look at who's in our prisons, and so it becomes this like my pain and my trauma, because that's what it is, right? And then the standard is you can't speak about that, because what does that say about you as a man or as a male? So when we externalize, and then if you're part of a different racial group, you're externalized, you get hit again, because then it's going to be labeled as oppositional, or, you know, ADHD if you're in a school, or violent or criminal. You know, and I want to recognize here, like, in case you can't tell, I'm white. So, you know, I sit in a lot of place of privilege, and that makes a difference. In any space, there's a majority and a minority, you know, in that majority group, whether it's gender, whether it's race, whether it's whatever, religion, sexual orientation, you know, has greater voice and privilege and opportunity and access. And so I just really, I think about, like, personally, I sit in a place of a lot of privilege. And so until like 10 years ago, I didn't understand. I didn't understand how loneliness or what it was. I didn't understand how it impacted me and other people, or the privileges that I had. I became aware, and so now I try to be aware so that I don't, you know, walk in that privilege in that way. I try to, you know, use it to amplify, make space at the table for other people, or amplify other people's voices. But there are, you know, lots of double standards. You know, I think for me, I see a lot of them about race, but I've worked in schools, and that's who I've worked with. And I see it so much between gender and with race. And it's just, it's so destructive, you know.
I feel you, Jen. I feel it's destructive and very uncomfortable sometimes. When you're experiencing that double standard, I feel that way. Sometimes even for women working in a predominantly male field, there's a huge double standard there, because they feel that women can't give up the same type of accountability in their environment. I've been in a lot of those situations, preferably on the railroad, where I was one of 25 Black women to operate a locomotive engineer. And that's not because there's only 25 Black women that work on the railroad. I mean, there's thousands. It's just been that opportunity given. And I know I've been asked a couple of times to do it, but I didn't take it literal. It actually just motivated me to keep pushing to do it even harder, and just made me be that person to make a difference and show all the other young ladies that came before me or after me, you can be this person in this environment. But yeah, it was tough. It was uncomfortable because I've been told that I didn't know anything before I got behind the operating seat, and then had to show out and prove myself. I did that, but there were times where I felt that I didn't really need to have. I didn't need to, but I chose to. I chose to set the straight. But those double standards are like all over the place, and I experienced that definitely a lot in that environment, and it's tough. It's tough. You still do what you have to do, but you still carry that home at night, frustrated. And, oh my God, I had to do this again today. I express that in the moment because you're like, okay, this is your career, and it's very intense. It's very emotional. But you can't express that in a moment. You just have to go and perform. So yeah, I agree with you guys. Double standard is a real issue.
I agree with all you guys. What y'all said. As far as the double standard, I worked in a job where I had to work extra hard just to prove to the guys that I can do it. I used to be a ramp agent, and that's normally what guys do, where they pick up the heavy bags and move the big equipment because they feel like, oh, you're a girl, you should be in the office, or you should be doing this. No. I can do the same thing that you do and probably better. But you can't say that, because you gotta take care of their ego and take care of all this other stuff. It was just so unnecessary because I just came to work just to get my job done. Like, I don't have time for the extraness of, oh, you're the stronger, or I'm the strongest. No. That's job done so we all can go home. So I totally understand. I get it. It's a little frustrating at times because you just don't really feel like you want to go to work or deal with the everyday life, dealing with stuff that you don't really feel like it's a important thing, but it exists. So it's hard to not even put yourself in a situation of, oh my goodness, I don't want to go to the grocery store and get all this attention from guys, or I just want to just go in and, okay, if they give a compliment, great. It shouldn't be oh my God, like you're not talking to me, or you feel this way, or you feel that way. It's just too much. Like, calm down, relax. Let's just live life and have fun. So I totally understand.
That brings a lot of similarities in my own experience. When I go to the grocery store or go to the gas station, it's like the double standard is, majority women get that kind of verbal, that kind of onset, like catcalling. And we're supposed to just, I guess, smile and relish that someone.
I don't do that. I do not do that. I ask you, do you use those same lips that you talk to with me? Do you use those same things with your mother? Do you say that to your mother?
Yeah, I only do it because that's just how I deflect. Like, I don't really take it in. It's just, for me, I'm just like, oh, thank you, kind sir. Or like, like being sarcastic enough to be like, oh, we are in the time where I am a lady and someone thinks I'm pretty. So I do it as like it's a playful energy with me. Like,
yeah.
like, oh,
I mean, I understand the playfulness. I guess because I'm older. When I was younger, that was something that, oh, that's cute. But now you whistle, holler at me, or say something smart to me, I'm gonna turn back because I don't need confirmation from you for no reason at all. From no man
You're not
in that
open.
aspect. Yeah.
And that's
I don't yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, and it's we talk about oh, the whistling and stuff. I haven't got it done lately, so I don't know how it is. So whatever. But I just, to me, I wouldn't even consider that double standard. To me, I just consider that disrespectful. That's disrespectful, period. Because would you want another man to treat your mother, sister, or daughter like that? You understand what I'm saying? So to me, no. I mean, that's a no-go for me. And don't
understand.
whistle.
I
No, go ahead.
understand your point of view. I'm talking about like the openness of flirtatious. Women don't generally do that as in a men's way. But I have witnessed women
We do
doing
it.
that.
I have to.
We
So
do
it's
it.
not-
Yes,
Yeah, it's
we do.
yeah. You have, Jen? Sorry.
I have
Yeah.
witnessed it, but I just think there's a like implied permission, and I don't mean any disrespect, that goes back historically for men to do it. Like it's your right to do it, and that's in the air you breathe. Even I personally believe that. I know lots of people that don't. I know lots of good guys that wouldn't do that, but I have seen women do it. But
Well,
again,
Mike,
inside myself, I probably have a different reaction. I need to check my bias. When a woman does it, I probably have a different reaction in my mind than when a man does it.
Yeah,
Me myself as a woman who doesn't like that and has been on the receiving end, I'm probably judging that differently. 'Cause you're like,
but
oh,
see, you know what? As we talk about it in my former life, I used to go hard for it, and I used to be very disrespectful about it. But when I did it, it was cute. It was laughable. Oh, you doing you. But when a man do it, he nasty. He a pervert. He being disrespectful. But I've seen it done, and I've done it myself. In that aspect to where when you look at it as a woman, I can go hard because I'm a woman. I can do that. I can be like I can literally go up and grab a man's ass if I want to because I'm a woman. Literally.
Double
And
standard
won't
at its finest.
won't nothing happen? Won't he'll probably think it's cute if he have I won't do it with his wife, but but I'm just saying it will be cute, it will be funny, it will be flirtating, it will be all that. Now you do it if a man was to do that to a woman back then, now or whatever, that would be sexual harassment.
So do you
I
think
think,
it's
I
fair?
think it's about really the approach. Yeah, I think there's nothing really wrong with a little harmless flirtation with whether it's a male doing it to a female or a female doing it to a male. I think the approach on how you're doing it makes the bigger difference. Like,
Yes.
with the cat calling and you just, hey, shawty, what's up? Let me get your number. Like, no, you can't do that to me. But you can say to me, hey, I like this about you. You have a nice.
Yeah.
I think
I
that
get that.
approach makes the difference in how the other person, a male, because just like how you said about going up and grabbing the guy's ass, I know some men that would probably hurt you for doing that just because they would be feeling some type of way because they are really sensitive about their butt. So they don't want nobody going like that. So I understand it from your perspective, but I also feel there is an approach to being able to do that and the environment, what type of environment that you're in that is okay for that to happen in that way and without it being offensive. Because I think that could be offensive coming from this particular in that type of environment, in that type of way, approach.
Well, now it will probably be offensive. Now it will probably be more so, no, don't do that. But before it was not offensive. It was not because if you look at it, I mean, and I get what you're saying when you say men are protective of their ass and all that other great stuff. I understand that, and what's going on in the world today. Yes, it probably will be a different approach, but back then you could go up and slap somebody's ass and call it a day. Well, a woman could. Let me say that a woman could, but however, I wouldn't do it today because that's sexual harassment. Don't do that, because do I want it done to me? No, I never want it done to me. Not back then, not now, not in the future. So what will make it right, or what made it right back then for me to do it? You understand what I'm saying? So
I think that comes down to toxic masculinity. Back then, men were not in a position where they could say, this makes me uncomfortable, because then other people would chime in and be like, oh, you're a man, be a man. You're letting some woman,
derogatory. Yeah, use the derogatory. Because I've heard it because, just prime example, I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I did it I had an experience where I did grab someone's ass. And he was like, "Hey man, don't be doing me like that," and he was serious. But then to his guy was like, "Oh, I'm just a messenger. Oh, you a faggot. What's wrong with you? That fine girl grabbing your bead and you acting crazy. What's wrong with you?" And me not knowing that at the time and not recognizing it at that time that it was an issue, I thought it was cute. And that does go back, and that does play with mental health. Yeah, that falls back on mental health and that does fall back on that, because you as a man, you can express, I don't want my behind touched. Why you don't want your behind touched? Oh, you a punk. You a this, you that.
Mike, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, because you quiet.
Okay, quiet up there in the corner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So it is true, and it is something that has basically been put into place by men for thousands of years, and so it is a thing. And I kid you not, I used to go out a lot with my one friend. I got a female friend, so I used to go out clubbing a lot. And I got this one friend. Whenever we would go out clubbing, I would always have to be the guy that's always pushing dudes off of her, because he has no problem with that club by the balls and ass. And I'm just like, man, she just doing it. She ain't trying to go home with you tonight. Chill out. This is not the type of fight, bro. Like, and it was like, I never got into a fight because I let it be known clearly. Like, yo, she's just handsy. But I get it. I understand where you come from, but she just being handsy with it. And whereas being a guy, once again, I'm about single life, and when you see it where the reactions are completely polar opposites and different. And if a guy is like, oh, cat, like going out to the club trying to touch a woman on the arm to get a picture, don't touch me, mother. It's like, okay, so it's a whole, and that's just like an innocent shoulder tap, arm grab, and it's just like, don't do it. It's an aggressive approach. But if a woman does it, it's acceptable, it's inviting. You should be allowing it. To say you're not, you're gay, you're not into women. You're basically your masculinity, your manhood is automatically being attacked. You not accept the female's advancement, whether she's offering sex, whether she's trying to pick you up, whether she's trying to get your number or anything like that. You're automatically labeled as you're not a man, you're gay, you're not into you're not straight or whatever. And that is a huge double standard when it comes into things like that. And it is like walking a fine line, because I had to check. I'm not a big cat caller person. I can't be like, hey girl, you look good. I'm a little bit more different. I'm not that handsome, but I'm cute. I'm not that handsome, so I gotta play with my strengths and weaknesses here. Okay, so it's always like, I just want to say you look very lovely. I love your hair. It looks nice, and just keep it moving. Now that to me, that's me flirting straight up off the rip. Cat calling doesn't look like flirting to me. That's just like a cave built up to take you home. That's just like, hey, oh, hit you in the head. You look good. But I'm just like, okay. it's a completely different approach in like discussion aspects of it, because the double standards of trying to like date people and basically being a man receiving those kind of things is like, I ain't gonna lie, if a female's like, oh, you sexy, you cute, I'm gonna blush like a motherfucker. Hey, I'm a little bit like, okay, you know. It's not like, I mean, even the most handsome guy may get it, but then even the most handsome guy may get it at times, and yet they still gonna appreciate it because it's a thing that's not common. Women don't compliment men, men compliment women. Women don't like women. Men don't get complimented by sex.
Well, you can't as a woman, but as a woman, you're not okay. As a woman, how are you to compliment a man other than saying, "Oh, you look good," you know, or "Oh, your linen pants are nice," or "Your slick bottoms look good"? You understand what I'm saying? Like, how do you physically compliment? "Oh, your line look good. Your haircut is fresh." Or
I feel like you can give a compliment without it coming off in a disrespectful type of way to offend their ego or offend their masculinity.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Always give a guy, me being a lesbian female, I can give anybody a compliment without it even coming off in a certain type of way. It's how it's said and how it come across. Like if you going up to a guy and say, "You handsome as shit," you know that they're gonna take offense. Like, okay, like no, that's not my
they're gonna
say.
no,
But if
they're
you
gonna
want to
look
say,
at you wild.
I really love your suit. You know, I love, you know, your swag. That's a nice little swag. It's all about how you say it versus what you say.
No, and it's universal on everything, especially when it comes to women.
Yeah, it's the deliverance. I've been out the game for 15 years, so that just goes to show you that, you know. I hope I don't ever get a divorce because I don't know how to date. So I'm sorry. But
Ebony, do you give your husband compliments?
All the time. I give him compliments. Because I know how to give him compliments. I know what to say to him. And just like, and what we do as each other, we compliment other. He don't compliment a man because he's a man, but we compliment other women. He be like, "Hey, babe, I like her hair."
Wait. Time out. You just said a double standard right there. Because he's a man, why can't he compliment another man?
Exactly.
Cause that's not no.
Why
no,
is it
they
no?
can do that.
Because we play a role.
Yeah, no.
What if he likes
I'm gonna take that back. Let me take that. I'm gonna take that back. Now if we on the street, no, you can't come. No.
Even if he said something like, "Man, that guy looks really good in that suit."
No,
like
you bet not.
Well,
no.
Why?
So you can do it, but he can't.
Why?
No, he can't. No.
Because we have all breathed that toxic masculinity in, right? The same way you're like, I gotta compliment him about his shoes or his hair, or like
right.
that we got.
That is my job, not yours. But we can compliment women
that's
together.
messed up, Ebony. So
That's
messed up.
Double
What
standard.
do you feel, Ebony? What do you feel is happening if another woman compliment your husband?
I love it. I love it because
or him complimenting another man or another female. What is happening to you in that moment?
what is happening? Okay, wait a minute. Go back. Ask one. You know I'm bipolar. Ask one question at a time.
Okay, I saw that.
Okay.
Let me take that. I got you. Woo, rewind. So, let me take it back. So, what does it do to you when your husband compliments another man or another woman? What is that happening? What's happening to you?
Well, nothing happens when he compliments another woman. Because 9 times out of 10, when he's complimenting another woman, I'm probably seeing the same thing that he's seeing. And I'm probably about to say the same thing. Cool, no problem. But him complimenting another man, no. It ain't nothing. I don't even think I'm thinking in the moment. And I don't even think he's thinking in the moment. I just know he better not do it.
Why?
What's happening to you though? What are you experiencing? So I'm asking you so that I understand. What are you feeling? So we can understand why there's a no. You saying no, but without giving feeling of emotion behind it. Give up.
I mean, it's not. Okay, so let me say this. He can't compliment he can't compliment saying, "Oh, he looked good" or something like that. No. But okay, I'm gonna take it back. Rewind. Now, when we went to the military ball, he complimented to his junior Marines, his Marines. He complimented in their uniform. He was like, "Oh, y'all look nice." That's okay. But just on the street, no.
What does it mean if he does that? Like, what's the meaning for you? If he does that,
why are you so uncomfortable? Why are you so uncomfortable? Why that makes you so uncomfortable?
We doing that? I don't even think it makes me uncomfortable. I think I don't have no feeling. You just not gonna do it.
Can I ask you another question? Can I ask you another question? So do you have a son? I love you. I say this. So do you encourage your son, like he's a kid? Is it okay if your son, do you want him to compliment other boys or like?
We haven't really talked about it to where he's complimenting someone else. He's mimicked like, "Oh, well, Mama, I want that." He hasn't actually said, "Mama, John looks nice." You understand what I'm saying? Now, me immediately, and I'm gonna be honest, if he was to say, "Oh, Mama, John look nice," I'm gonna start thinking. That's just me personally. I'm gonna start thinking. Okay, why do you think John looks nice? "Oh, I just think he looks nice." So as me being a person that I am, of course I'm gonna have to sit down and dissect it. But the first thing I'm gonna say, "Okay, my son like boys." That's just me personally.
Okay, so then the concern is your husband's sexuality also in terms of him complimenting. No. Because
I know my husband's sexuality. I know I know what he will and will not do. Like, I know that my husband will not compliment another man because that's just I ain't gonna say out of the norm, but that's just him. He's not gonna compliment another man on the street. And me being who I am, you're not gonna compliment a man neither. You understand?
Sorry.
No.
I mean,
I'm gonna say this. Sorry. No, I'm gonna say this real quick. When it comes to that, like we just talked about, it is a huge double standards, and it is off-putting. It is automatically your masculinity as a man is questioned and retried, and that is universally a thing. Where to me, I do it to my family, and I do it to a complete stranger, but I let it know, like, nah, it ain't like that. I'm just saying you look good in your outfit. I'm not like, man, no. It's not the same way. Like, yo, brother, you look fresh, man. That haircut is lining. I like them shoes.
Right.
You got. For men, you got to do it in the masculine way. Not like that. But, I'm not going to lie. It is questionable because we are birth that where women can compliment each other all day, nothing behind. A man compliments another man. He's sense, a little bit feminine. And it's like your masculinity is 100%.
But I think it's different because he had, like, I've heard him compliment men in uniform. I've heard him compliment men in uniform. But see, once again, they're in uniform. So it's not I don't think it's a big issue for me. As in, he say, "Hey, Mike, yo, you look decent." No, bitch. I mean, no.
But what if he's in a situation of like, he is in the environment where it's one of his friends, well, somebody that he hasn't seen in a long time, and he never seen him in that type of atmosphere in a suit and tie. He'd be like, "Oh, you clean up nice." Like,
I have not encountered him interacting with anyone to say, "Oh, you look decent." I mean, he's let me say, like, I'm trying to give examples. I'm like trying to give examples of the times that we have encountered people in our circle or just encountered people, period. But I've never really heard him say, "Oh, you look nice," or "Oh, your eyes are nice," or something. I've never heard him compliment a male
I'm not-
outside of the
Haven't
uniform.
experienced it yet.
Man says
Yeah.
that the man.
No,
Okay.
huh?
Well, because I feel like what we're talking about here to a degree, like we're talking about the toxic masculinity, but we're talking about unconscious bias too. Like, so Ebony, you're like, I don't think about it. I don't even know. And I know my man is attracted to me. I know his sexuality. I'm not questioning that. But we all have bias, and we bring that unconscious bias, whether it comes from our family or our race or culture community. We got all these messages. We probably got our whole lives around like what it means to be a male or a black male, or if, you know, when to give a compliment. Like, we all have that bias, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then there's rules, right? There's these rules that are coming out that, like, they're unwritten, right? Like, so in a military, in a special occasion, it might be all right? Or in a certain your family,
definitely.
or there's all these rules that are like kind of unwritten
Definitely.
that apply this like pressure, right? That we don't talk about, like we're talking about right now, but
Definitely.
it's crazy how it shows up.
I
We don't even know what it's about in itself. Like, when our bias shows up, we don't have any idea. We're like, whoa, wait, like, I don't know where that's coming from. So I gotta dig in and see, like, let me ask myself some questions. Like, where did I learn that? Who did I learn it from? What's it about? So
maybe that's a question you can ask him one day.
Those are all good questions.
Yeah, maybe that's a question you can ask him. I don't know if he's gonna answer.
well, y'all
Maybe
know,
that's
Jen.
yeah, I mean, maybe that's a question you can ask one day, but that's
So-
just as of right now, you know, hey.
But then I think about, as a female, what's my role in trying to make sure that I'm not reinforcing toxic masculinity? Because I can get all like, "Woo, I'm a female. You need to get out of my way. You need to treat me right because for so long you didn't." And we're talking about the flip side, which I don't think about too much. I did when Mike brought it up, and I wasn't even thinking about it. Like, and then just today thinking about, well, if I choose to give certain kinds of compliments and others, I'm upholding that toxic masculinity. You know, or how am I like participating in that? I think as a woman, like, I hear that and I'm like, I don't have nothing to do with that. I'm on the receiving end. But that's not really true, is it? I mean, for me, that's what's like the light bulb today is like, yeah, I guess I'm perpetuating that, even though I don't want to, for sure.
As a man, it's received differently because, like I said, you've been brought up a certain way. So when another man be like, "Yo, you got a nice smile," it's like, "All right, what's up, bro?" You know, and it's just like, you know, like it's different. I had a friend of mine. I had a friend of mine. So this is where the double standard comes into play. Then in the world we live in today, is weird. So I had a friend of mine who was at a bar downtown, and he was telling me the story, and I bust out laughing because it was funny. So he's at the bar, and then this guy was like, "Hey, man, like, yeah, bro, thank you, I appreciate it." And then he's like, "You mind if I buy you a drink?" And automatically, my friend goes, "Nah, man, I ain't with that gay shit." And it was just like, whereas, you know what I'm saying, it's like that's the immediate approach. So then he's like, nah, it ain't nothing like that. So then he goes ahead and he's like, "All right, cool, yeah, you can buy me a drink." So he buys him a drink, and they just chit chatting. Now, mind you, heterosexual, both masculine and heterosexual things, and then it just turned the complete left side where he was like, "Man, I ain't gonna lie, I sure will fuck the shit out of you." He's like, "Hey," so like for men, it's like it's just like, nah, it's like I see where Ebony's coming from, like, nah, you ain't gonna do that, but it is how society has strongly,
That's how and then too, Mike,
unspokenly made it a normalcy for men not to compliment men, for men not to receive compliments. I mean, we've probably gotten a lot better where you're like, "Yo, your shoes is nice. These are selective items. Oh, that haircut is fresh," but it's not a complete okay the way women do it, how men can do it.
yeah, it is. And I know it's a double standard, but I'm learning. No, I ain't. But it is a double standard because it's, especially coming up, that's just something, that's just a note. That's one of those rules that's in the rule book that's invisible, you know, in the rule book of living in the world, in this society, you know, and that's how it was brought to us. So if a man say, "Oh, you look good now," just like Mike, piggybacking on Mike, you accept that compliment, okay? You accept the compliment, and you accept the drink, but then too, he's giving what he say he wanted that he'll have sex with him. See, all of that right there, just to eliminate all that, just don't compliment. Just don't compliment. See, because that right there, that's how individuals end up dead, beat up, all of that, just because of that word. So just to keep that down, don't even compliment. Don't even, because you may never know. You may never know another person head.
No, but see, Ebony, that's
Very.
no, but that's catering into that, because where women can get approached by another women, and like women in college probably like tons of women I've talked to and I've dated have said they have done they have had sex with another woman in college, and it's like it's a rite of passage at some point.
Definitely.
But then let a guy say that he probably did something like that with another guy, he is forever at that point labeled gay. There ain't no coming back. So moving forward, it's like, and if you at a moment of vulnerability and you just talking about your college experience and you're having a drink, it was actually in a show called Insecure where this woman, she's been single for
Love that show.
but she likes one guy and he's like a great guy, but then he talks about college where he had sex with one guy at one time and he was like, and she completely wrote him off of the college experience he had when he was in college, when he was 20, whatever, and he's in his 30s now, and she wrote him off as being gay. He's not gay. He likes women. He just knows that ain't his cup of tea. But that he felt comfortable enough to express that, state that, automatically. She looked at him that way, and that kind of like, she looked at him that way, called him gay, and he just basically stopped talking to him. She stopped receiving his phone call. But that's not okay. That's not okay, because that's where you see he was trying to be vulnerable. He's basically expressing himself emotionally.
Right.
When the whole thing where everybody got to be capable to express themselves emotionally, killed and judged. He did that.
Somebody loud.
How come her experience is accepted, okay, and find to be sexy and intriguing, but his college experience is looked at as a negative light on his character as a man? Now, I ain't gonna lie, I said the same thing too, but then I realized, like, yeah, it's not cool, but then again, I can't think like that because, like I said, he did it once and he's no longer in my mind. I'm like, yeah, he's gay, but it shouldn't be that way because
I wouldn't consider, but once again, he's experimenting. Now, what I would say, I'm just being honest. What I experienced with another guy, it's definitely frowned upon when guys try other guys. It's definitely, but it's okay because it's sexy when women do it. You understand? And I totally understand you when you say that. But once again, as a woman, and this is just me, as a woman, would I think of him less of a man? Probably not. But that will always be in my head that you butt bumping. You understand what I'm saying? That will always be in the back of my head. So it's not about. I want to say. I'm going to just use me for an example. When I tell you that whoever this guy is, say, okay, hey, I did have sex with a man back in college, but that ain't my cup of tea. Immediately, I'm going to think, okay, what made you want to do that? That's my first thought. What made you want to do that? What will make you want to do that? And then the second thing, it comes back to the masculinity. Like, okay, you didn't try, it's not your thing right now, but will those urges come back up? So can you protect me? Can you protect me as a man?
From one experience? All of that from one experience?
All that from one experience. This is just me thinking. All that from one experience, because once again, I am looking at it as two men. I think that it's okay for women to be together. I just think that's okay. But for two men to be okay,
So that
That's
is a
just me,
clear
no.
double standard.
That's a double standard.
Definitely.
Why is it
Where does that
acceptable
come
for
from?
women and not men?
I got a clear double standard. I'll be the first to say it. I definitely got. I look at stuff totally different than everybody else. I have my own bias. I know all of that, and I'm here to say that because it's okay for women to be together, but I just feel like it's just a lot of stuff in my head, and I don't think hour can just I don't think an hour is enough time for me to say what I need to say, why I feel that way. In the sense of it's okay for two women to be together, but no, it's not okay for two men to be together.
But I think a lot. No, go ahead, Mike.
But like that's like upbringing and everything else like that. We're continuing the cycle, and
Yeah.
this is Ebony. It's like I say, I don't mind looking at two women doing it or making out, holding hands. When I see two guys, I'm like, And I got gay friends. I got male gay friends.
But guess what? I have plenty of gay friends, both male and female. I look at the situation, but I of course I still love them unconditionally. But do I feel like they should be together? No.
So we give women the freedom to express and delve into their sexuality while we suppress men. Having a freedom to experience and express their sexuality. That's a clear privilege on my end that I see women can do those things. So that's a really
So do I have privilege? Yes, I do.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, but sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I just like whether it's sexuality or something else, like I just think we're all here because we're like, we want to change things. We want to have these conversations and create change, right? Mm-hmm. So if I start thinking about that from that perspective, I mean, I don't judge. Like we're all learning. We all have bias. Like we all have it. So what for me, like it pops up and I'm like, oh, what was that? Like what? I just have to try to like interrogate my bias. But then for us, like if our purpose is to talk and create change, like, so then my question that's popping around my head right now is like, so how? Like how in this moment?
How do I create? Yeah, I understand. I ask if I don't know, I'm gonna ask questions, regardless of the fact, regardless who you are. I'm not gonna act like I know everything because I know my bias and I know my double standards. So if I don't understand or if I don't get, I'm gonna try to get the answers and get the questions so it'll help me understand so I can learn. I mean, it won't, I'm not going to say it's going to happen overnight. No, it's not. It's a learning process for me. So if I see it, like I said, I have a lot of gay friends, believe it or not. And it's a lot of gay people in the military that I'm very close to. And I asked the question because once again, in the military, what's the term?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Don't ask, don't tell. But once again, that's very toxic. But I want to understand, like, I guess this can be a whole nother topic. Like, I want to understand the logic behind it. That's it. I just want to understand the logic behind it. Like, what made you choose a man? Did you have an experience, or did you know at the age of 5 that you was interested in man, Barbies, and all that other stuff that you see on the TV? Like, I want to understand the logic behind it. You understand what I'm saying? Before I say, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I want to understand the logic. Like, have you ever had an experience with a female to where you say, before you say you don't like a female? Yeah,
that makes sense. I guess from my point of things, people come as they are. Like I believe in a lot of, more spiritual practices that souls will come to this world, doing what they feel is what they need to do. And it's not necessarily a question of what made you do. It's how can I just take you as you are? I don't need to know all the intricacies of where you started going. I just need to accept that you came to this earth knowing what you like. And if that gives you pleasure, may very well, even though I may not understand it, like I value that you are consenting and you're with someone who is safe and you just live your life as you are, you know? And that's the only way I can view it, you know, since I do have that privilege of acting in sexuality as a woman, like as free as I may be. For men, I can now see that they don't have the capacity to be emotionally and sexually free as they are. So from that lens, I'm like, okay, this is not on me. This has nothing to do with me. But as long as you're happy and as long as you're getting what you need in a healthy environment, that's all there is to it on my end. That's just one way to look at it. So you don't have to like get all the answers, because no one's truly ever going to get the answers of why and when and who and
no,
what.
it's not that we doing that. It's not that I'm getting the answers. I just want to be able to understand it, so I won't seem illiterate to it. I'm gonna accept you regardless of the fact.
Right.
I don't care if you're white, but I just want to understand it, so I won't be illiterate to it. You understand what I'm saying? So when I cross the path again, or if we come back, or whatever the case may be, it's just for my personal feelings. For me personally, it's me personally. Like, okay, hey, okay, got you. This is what you wanted. Totally understandable. It's
Can I
not
ask
for
a
me
question for you, Ebony? So if somebody were to come to you and ask you, what do you see in your husband? Why did you marry him? Why are you attracted to him? What would you say?
I wasn't attracted to my husband.
Okay. So why are you?
I wasn't. Why did I marry my husband? Do you want to know the truth?
Yep.
At the time, you know what, Mike?
He's bringing the fun. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Actually, like I said, at the time in my life when I met my husband, I was at a really low point in my life. Period. I did not. My husband, we didn't like each other, but when he crossed paths, and long story short, he was just like, I don't play no games, whatever. I'm here. You want to be my wife? You know, would you marry me? Whatever. Me thinking the way that I was and where I was in life, I was like, good guys like this don't come my way. Let me jump on this train and let me ride it, because I don't know where I would be. I don't know where my life would be if I didn't marry my husband. You see what I'm saying? So I was at a really low point in my life, like a really low point. And like I said, I wasn't attractive to my husband. I had to grow to love my husband. I had to learn how to be a wife. I had to learn all of that. And here we are. Like I say, it's not, what you saw in your husband. Was your husband this? Was your husband? No, I ain't like my husband. My husband wasn't my typical guy that I would date. I was used to the drug dealers, the gangbangers, all of that. And he was the total opposite.
So the point of what I was saying is, I mean, your situation is kind of the exception, but if I were to ask you what you see in your husband right now, you would be able to say characteristics that you appreciate about him. You don't have to go into it, but that's the point.
Yeah,
so the same thing,
definitely.
The same thing, that characteristics that you see in your husband are what two men see in each other, or what two women see in each other. It doesn't matter what their sex is, it doesn't matter what's in their pants or what's on their chest. It's the person that they're seeing. They're looking beyond the gender that we've placed on people, because gender is really, it's something that we've created. Yes, you have a penis, this person has a vagina, but there is no rule anywhere that says that the penis has to go into the vagina, and it can only go into the vagina. It can't go anywhere else.
Right. Exactly. It's about this deeper connection with another person. It's about connecting to another person on another level of understanding and connection and deepness and love. Like that's really what it is. It's not about whatever. And I've been with a male and I'm with a female, so I definitely know both ends of that spectrum. But it's about how deeper the love is, how deeper the connection is. What's that bond or that thing that you two share together, that you chose to start a life together or be a part of each other's lives, or whatever that thing is. Not really so much about, that's the whole masculine or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's about appreciating one another. Like we
Seeing people as
just
people.
right, we stopped doing that for some reason that we place this judgment on
We
what
never
a person.
Mhm.
society never started. The world never started seeing people.
Yeah, but the truth, the
Good
truth.
point.
Right,
We never started it. We never started it.
right,
We're now being self-aware and probably slowly, like if you like a dab of sand, slow changes being made. If you have a sandwich where we're making movements, but the whole globe never, ever
right,
accepted people for who they are. It was the unspoken written agreement that women do this, men do this. You play your role here, and throughout loud cries, voices, women were able to vote. Women were able to get equal pay, and there was no talk about you being with another woman. There was no talk about you getting a job. Because if you did that, that made a man feel inferior, and he was unable to do anything for himself. Women were a sign of a threat to a man's masculinity and his pride. So we've come a long way, and we're basically fixing the problem. We've never ever accepted it. Ever.
When you socially construct something, we've socially constructed what it means to have gender or sexuality or race. It's for the benefit of someone else. You always have to look back to who did that benefit. It benefited men. It benefited white people. Why was it done? It was done for money. It was done for whatever. But the good thing about a social construct is in relationships with each other, we can dismantle a social construct. And some of them are going to hold on a lot harder. I mean, look right now, we're fighting like the dying gasp of white supremacy. And, like nothing, groups in power don't let go of power without a fight. And these things are socially constructed, but we can deconstruct them in our relationships with each other and the way we raise our children and the way we interact with each other. Because I mean, that's what I believe. Like that
right.
from this conversation itself, like I asked a question a little while ago and then I feel like I can answer it. Like having this very conversation has made me completely think about like masculine sexual expression in a totally different way. And I'm going to take into every interaction, particularly with my husband, my brother. You know what I mean? And so I'm going to be thinking about this because that's how I am. And in thinking about that as I interact with others, it's going to change the way I'm going to now be aware of my bias, or I might say something different. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's why we're in this group particularly and on this earth. Like that's how change happens. Like I think that's how the 6 of us ended up together and 7 with Erica now, who we're like delighted to have, because we believe that like having these conversations changes my lens and I take my lens out in the world, right? You got drafted,
Right.
you didn't know. But I mean, because I'm
ready anyway.
I feel like the same mindset that people had about interracial relationships is kind of where we are with, intersex, same-sex relationships. It's that same mindset. Underneath whatever's on the outside, we're just people with different personalities and we're drawn to different energies, whether that's masculine or feminine or a mixture of the two. So with that being said, in our last couple minutes here, what kind of final thoughts do we have to share?
I think we view masculinity as a threat as a whole. And I personally would like to start seeing the more nurturing side of masculinity, trying not to see it as a threat because it's needed in balance. We can't do away with it just because it can get out of balance and become toxic. So can femininity. We didn't really touch on it as much, but I do believe there are toxic feminine traits that are literally out of balance. I just would like to honor both masculine and feminine energies equally for myself. So that's one takeaway I'm taking. I'm going to do the work to look at both with value and honor.
I think for me, I'm really thinking about like, I can get all worked up about this when I'm working with my middle school boys and try to teach them and show them and help them be comfortable so that they don't take this into their lives, this toxic masculinity. But I need to check myself when I'm interacting with my husband. What messages am I giving him that I might not need to be giving him? So I really want to think about that, especially in my close relationships. Like, how does this show up in me, and what can I do different so that I'm not creating it? Because I'm telling him all the time, you need to talk about your feelings. It's okay to talk about your feelings. But what other messages am I giving him when he does? Because then I'm pissed off about what he's feeling, right? So I really want to think about that and just be intentional about, like, okay, what messages might I be sending that I wasn't thinking about?
I think for me.
Oh, go ahead, Jordan. Sorry.
I think for me, the big take home is, like I said, seeing people as people. When I see things, being able to check, kind of like what Jen said, being able to check my own biases and my own double standards, and being aware of what biases and double standards I'm reinforcing in my interactions with the people around me. And just being more aware of the societal norms that I'm pushing on other people versus allowing them to just be themselves, whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like for them. So that's mine.
I agree with you, Jordan. You took the words right out of my mouth. So, just educating myself far as how I talk to the opposite sex. Everything don't have to come off in a offensive type of way, but just being more open-minded with being understanding that you don't have to say certain things or offend people in a different type of platform. So yeah, just being understanding and open-minded.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Mike?
Oh, I was waiting for the ladies.
Who ain't win? It's Tashina. It's your go. Oh, okay.
I'll go after you.
Okay. No, I'm always open-minded. I'm always here to learn. I'm definitely learning. I always want to educate myself on things I don't understand. I recognize my bias, and I know sometimes my bias can come out of my mouth, and sometimes it can come out in the environment or the community as well. But I'm definitely open to learn and understand and see what is what. Education and learning is key for me. So that's what I take away from it.
For me, it's very interesting, this conversation coming from. Hold on, I think there's an echo.
I'm finna.
No? Okay. Is that better? Yes. Okay. So for me, it's interesting that all seven of us, because I feel like Mike has something different to say, but all seven of us have this different perception of the double standard, but it all kind of relates in the same aspect of understanding double standard. And I think where the seven of us are is where the world is right now with double standard. And so I feel that it was great that we did open up this can of worms, because now we create another conversation for the world. So my final thought is I'm excited that we are open enough to have this conversation. It didn't cause any one of us to hang up and walk away. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm just excited to see the response from this one episode, because I think where we're all in 7 different directions as far as this topic, that the world thinks in a way too. So yeah, that's my final.
Good. I have nothing to take away from this. I've been that way since day one. No, I'm kidding.
I told you he was gonna be different.
Yeah.
I'm gonna piggyback off what Jen was talking about. After this conversation, not only challenge yourself, but also challenge the world to basically try to make change. How do we go about taking what we learned today, how do we apply it on a broad, wider stream? It's good to talk about it, but then how us as individuals, how are we going to basically make this an impact on people that we are constantly interacting with throughout the day? Because education is great personally, but if we're not going to act on it, if we're not going to share it, if we're not going to basically push the change physically, it's not going to go anywhere. We can talk about it within ourselves. We can post this all day, but like Jen said, moving forward from here on out, how do we as a society come to say, like, there's a broad spectrum of bias of double standards, and how do we basically, push that forward into the forefront, like we've pretty much done with a few things out there. And she is right. Change is hard. A lot of people don't want to give up change, and it's ingrained in people's DNA, and it's hard for us to basically, I don't know what the fear comes from that, but it's also an emotional mental issue for people to accept change and basically want to grow from it. Like, we can change jobs every day, we can change clothes every day, we can even change the things we eat, but changing the way society is, people have problems with that. They want to fight it, but they don't like change, but they change every day. So how do we get people to understand that change is a good thing, not a bad thing? How do we push that forward? So
yeah, we're all uncomfortable sometimes with change.
Mm-hmm.
We as human beings are always set to be comfortable. And when we're uncomfortable, we don't know how to act, how to perceive it. So we are in this place of fear because we're afraid to change or be driven to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I agree with you, Mike, that there's something that needs to happen as far as change. But if we're not ready to accept being uncomfortable to get there, we're probably
we'll never get there.
Definitely. It's always gonna be that person that doesn't want to accept change. And those are the people that you gotta just put in the category and just put them in the heel somewhere, because it's always gonna be, they're still gonna be stuck, as I say, back in the day. I'm gonna use that word, back in the day.
Yeah.
My deep gratitude for this group right now is that, what we're doing is leaning into that discomfort, being our authentic self, showing up, being in relationship with each other. And it seems simple, but it's not, but it's so powerful. Ebony, you hung in there. I feel like, we're like, can we just ask you some more questions? And you're like, okay.
Oh, what I tell you, I'm an open book. I'm an open book. Nothing. I'm very transparent. I am going to, it was kind of an uncomfortable conversation for me, but this is what I'm here for. And it's okay, because once again, you want to know just like I want to know. And I'm very transparent about how I feel, my bias, and what I think, and me as an individual. So it's like I say, this is the purpose for the group, is to have these uncomfortable conversations, and let's come to a resolution. Now, will we resolve something in one day? No, it does take time. Do I still feel the same way that I did yesterday? Yeah, I do. But it's giving me time to open up and see, and not because of this, but because I'm in this group, and I'm in this group to invoke change. So I can't be a part of this group and still want to be stuck in the back in the day. So that's why I'm definitely, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but I'm comfortable because I'm comfortable with you guys. You understand what I'm saying? So even though you may seem like, oh, you coming down on me. No, we are family. Even though we're on this Zoom, we're family, and we talk. This is how, I don't know if this is how y'all talk to y'all brothers and sisters, but this is how I talk to my brothers and sisters. So I'm talking to y'all like I talk to my brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Because we are family here. You understand? What?
Look at Mike. Go ahead, Mike. What you gonna say?
Okay.
That was not what you were gonna say.
That was not.
Hey, that's really not what I'm gonna say, but okay.
Well, thank you all for your input. You know, we invite everyone to continue the conversation offline. Thank you all for leaning in and joining us on the Beyond the Sum of Our Parts, and we look forward to seeing you guys on our next episode. Until then, bye.
Bye-bye.